the media has been talking nonstop about what a wonderful, moderate, centrist, bipartisan, independent American hero Evan Bayh is, and how the rest of the Senate is so corrupt. But now without Evan Bayh, God, it's going to be even worse. They have him on. He's been on every program, and in every single program, the news anchor slash actor has crawled up his ass. Okay, and apparently they find it comfy and cozy up there. And they're like, oh, Mr. Vice Senator Bayh, you're so great, moderate, centrist, 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 centrist. Okay, and how will the Senate ever get on without you? And I know you're disgusted with the Senate and the rest of the senators, but you're too good for them, and you're leaving Washington. These guys are jokes, man. They're not doing news. They're not paying any attention to what the reality of it is. Not one person asked them, hey, Senator Bayh, are you thinking about maybe taking a lobbyist job where you would get paid millions upon millions of dollars, and that in fact you knew you were going to take that job all along, and that's why you've been selling out to corporate lobbyists your entire career? Now look, you don't have to go 1/10 that hard at him, but at least broach the topic, okay? I'd go that hard at him, but I know that the corporate media isn't going to do it. But the reality is they want to aid and abet people like Evan Bayh, because they want to leave you with the impression that if you sell out to corporate lobbyists, that you're not a sellout, that you're a moderate, and that you're trying to find the middle between the conservatives and the liberals, and that you're a centrist, and that you're bipartisan. All these great words, all these lovely words. When in fact, if you look at the voting record of those so-called conservative or moderate Democrats, they're the ones that make deals with the corporate lobbyists the most of any Democrats and almost of any politicians. So they'll go and say, oh, I care so much about the deficit. I am a conservative because I care about making sure the deficit is lower. You say, all right, great. The public option lowers it by hundreds of billions of dollars. He says, I'm going to vote against that because I am moderate. But wait a minute. I thought you said you wanted to lower the deficit. Well, that'll hurt the insurance companies. And that's the reality of the matter. They don't give a damn about conservative or liberal. Those guys that are so-called in the middle, they're not really in an ideological middle. They're in the middle of taking all your money, taking the corporate lobbyist money and giving your money out to them. That Senate health care bill that Evan Bayh loved at the end and helped to create was a disaster. And it's still sitting there, and they're probably going to pass it. And the reason it's a disaster is because Evan Bayh, among others, like Joe Lieberman, said if you put a public option or Medicare buy-in or anything that competes with private insurance, I will kill it. I will join the Republicans in a filibuster. For that, he should have been roundly lambasted. He should have been chastised and treated with scorn by the American people. Instead, the media treated him like a king. Oh, he's so bipartisan. He's willing to vote with the Republicans to protect insurance companies. What a great moderate. And he's been on that tour, and I saw a bunch of interviews with him today. And here's something else no one else has pointed out. Do you know that his wife sits on the board of WellPoint, and that she makes over $1 million from that position? WellPoint is an insurance company, a health insurance company, and that her stock, after Evan Bayh joined with Lieberman, etc., to say that he will under no condition pass a public option, the amount of money that his wife had in stock from WellPoint went up approximately $250,000. Now that's what I would call a gigantic conflict of interest. He votes against the public option, and his family get literally, the next day the stock went up, his family gets $250,000 more in their bank account. Now, did anybody mention that while they're interviewing him? No. He's great. He's moderate. I'm sick of it. The media is lying to you. It's all an illusion. Now, either they're painfully stupid and they don't know anything about politics, they don't know why any of the politicians act as they do, and they're totally oblivious to what's actually happening in Washington, or they purposely want to mislead you. They don't want to tell you that Evan Bayh and the rest of the so-called moderates are sellouts, and that they are the first people to sell out your interests to the special interests, which the American people already know. If you look at the polls, 80% say that the politicians act based on their catering to special interests, not to us, right? And that's Bayh, right? That's a small part of it. Now, when is the last time you heard on television any senator being called to task? It's always the other guys. They're always about, oh, senators, Washington's full of them and the Senate's full of them. So who are they? How come when they go on television, None of the anchors ever, news actors that are being called news anchors, ever call them out on it. Because they want them back on their programs. And, their companies have interests that align with the interests of those senators. And so you can't touch those senators. You can talk vaguely about how D.C. is corrupt, but never, ever, ever mention that a specific senator does things to make himself rich and his family rich. So when they asked Evan Bayh, hey, what will you rule out? He said, I'm going to rule out running for president. That's nonsense. That's ridiculous. In 2012, I'm not going to run in 2012. Okay, so he's willing to rule certain things out as ridiculous, right? Then they asked him, how about being a lobbyist? Would you consider being a lobbyist? You're going to be really surprised to find out he did not rule that out. He thought, well, I don't know what I'm going to do yet. My ass, you don't know what you're going to do yet. Really? You're so stupid that you retired and ended your political career without having any clue as to what you're going to do next. Gee whiz, I don't know. I'll try to figure it out. Oh, shucks. No, you know exactly what you're going to do next. And so when they asked you if you're going to be a lobbyist, you're like, well, I'll take it under consideration. That's because you are. Okay? Now, you're going to say, hey, wait a minute, Cenk, you said nobody asked them these questions, but somebody asked them that question. If you're paying attention and you asked that, good work. Okay? The one people who did ask him that, and why I quote them often on the show, Huffington Post. Sam Stein went and talked to him and said, are you considering being a lobbyist? And he's like, whoa. Okay, I have to admit I wasn't there. I don't know what his actual facial reaction was. But he said he wouldn't rule it out. Okay, so good reporting by Sam. And then Huffington Post had another very good report about the politicians and what they do after they leave office. Now, I wrote something on Huffington Post this morning about how the media is not doing their job. My guess is that they were writing the articles at the same time because those articles appeared shortly after mine. There's no way they had enough time, etc. But I like it because they're thinking along similar lines, and they're actually doing their job. It's not because they agree with me. And I'm not stating anything. I'm asking them to ask questions, right? So then the next article they had was about how many of these politicians, basically answering the question that I asked in my blog post, how many of these politicians go out and get jobs as lobbyists afterwards? Well, it turns out there is a number. According to the watchdog group Public Citizen, between 1998 and 2004, that 6-year stretch, 43% of the members, congressional representatives, either House of Representatives or senators, 43% of them that retired wind up becoming registered lobbyists. Now, 43% is a very, very large number. Understand that it's in reality even larger than that, because there are people like Tom Daschle who say they are consultants and advisors, but not lobbyists. Now, does Tom Daschle do lobbying? Absolutely. His company is paid by some of the largest health insurance companies in the country, right? But Tom Daschle says, no. Technically, I don't spend more than 20% of my time lobbying, so I'm actually an advisor and not a lobbyist. My ass. He's a lobbyist, okay? And so it's actually larger than 43%. Now, if about half of the people who retire from Congress wind up becoming lobbyists, you think it might be relevant as they're retiring to ask them, hey, are you planning to take millions of dollars from the same corporations that you protected in Congress? That is the implicit bribe that I've been talking about. You play ball, you don't rock the boat. When you retire, there's a big payday coming for you. And that's what Evan Bayh is looking forward to.